Okay, we still have a few more folks joining us, but we're going to go ahead and get started and just do some quick introductions here for you. So welcome to today's webinar on staying ahead of the pack with your social recruiting strategy. We really appreciate you joining us to learn more about the advantages of a highly engaging social strategy and navigating the ever-changing speedway of social media. This webinar is done in partnership with Wiork4 and Technomedia, and we're excited to present this event featuring CJ Reuter, Wiork4's Director of Enterprise Accounts and Customer Success, along with Rayanne Thorne, Vice President of Product Marketing and Strategy at Technomedia. First, some quick housekeeping items. You can ask our speakers questions at any point by typing them into the questions pod in your GoToWebinar control panel. You can see what that looks like on our screen right now. CJ and Rayanne love audience interaction, so they'll be happy to answer your questions as they arise during the presentation at any time, so please ask away, and I'll throw them out there as they come in. We'll also be sure to leave some time at the end of the presentation as well for those questions. If you don't get it addressed on today's call, we'll be sure to follow up with you directly after the webinar, and note that attendees will also receive a copy of today's presentation recording. We are recording it for you, along with the slides if you're interested. Now a bit about our presenters today, CJ and Rayanne. CJ has over 16 years of experience and is a veteran in the online recruitment market. In his role at Wiork4, he helps companies to leverage Facebook and other social websites to target candidates and match them to their open positions. He has a background in selling HR and talent system software, SaaS HR services, targeted media, and recruitment solutions. Prior to Wiork4, CJ was with Monster Worldwide for 15 years, where he grew his career into a leadership role as a global sales director. Rayanne recently joined Technomedia and is responsible for driving the product marketing strategy for Technomedia's talent management suite. Prior to Technomedia, Rayanne served as the marketing director with job posting software company Broadbean Technology for over 3 years before joining their digital recruitment group, Evenbase, where she managed communications and branding efforts for their flagship products. She has been working actively in social media marketing for 6 years, including 2 seasons of the reality show Top Recruiter. Great episodes if you guys haven't seen that. And is an avid writer and public speaker, often sharing her brushes with humanity and technology and how they always seem to intersect. So welcome, CJ and Rayanne. And CJ, I'll let you start us off with a brief overview of Wiork4.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate the introduction, Shauna. If you are one of the folks on the line here, feel free to tweet about the webinar so more folks can get the recording and also learn more about what we'll talk about today, which is building and engaging talent communities. So the hashtag is Wiork4webinar if you want to share or tweet about some of the things we're talking about today. So let's get started as we look for specifically more information about how to build a talent community. Why are all of the larger companies ahead of the game in building a talent community, and why are other folks a little behind in catching up? So depending on who you are and where you are, you will learn more today about how to not only build the talent community, some of the tools and social engagement things that you'll be looking forward to in the future, and then some of you will already have been here, and we're going to go a little farther for you all and talk about some of the coolest, newer things on some of the social networks, and Rayanne is going to cover everything kind of non-Facebook, and I'll cover Facebook for this. So a little bit more about Wiork4 before we get started. We're slightly over 3 years old, so we're a French and U.S. startup company. You might know us as Wiork4 Labs. We're kind of changing the brand over to be Wiork4. It's kind of simpler and easier to remember. We're an official Facebook HR partner. So what does that mean? That means we've actually developed products with Facebook. We are talking to them on a regular basis, and they actually tell us when they're going to make a change. So all of the 20,000 plus Work4Us job applications in the marketplace for Facebook pages today, we find out if they're going to make a change so that we can be a stable provider of job content for some of their social pages that they have. We have quite a few larger clients that also use our services, and so we have a custom engagement and suite of stuff that we work with them. You can see those logos on the left. And then we have gotten pretty nice awards for our technology and our work from folks like Gartner. So when you're getting in the game, when you're getting in that car, you're racing to get the talent that you need for your community. It's really about having a pipeline, having a backup plan for the requisitions you expect or for the requisitions that you know are open that you need to fill today, right? So the speed of business is something that I think most of the folks on the phone are familiar with, and it has changed dramatically how we find talent, how we engage talent, and then there's just new tools available. There's more people online, there's more people on a mobile device, there's more people on a social network than there have ever been before, and this is how the technology has changed how you find them. So it's really about communicating, sharing and engaging with the talent, and then there's the aspect of research, right? You know, what do these people want to see? Do they want to be able to apply to an open position on a mobile phone? Are they comfortable sharing their information automatically from a social network to fill out your application form? Things like that are becoming, you know, really, really important questions for organizations that have thousands or hundreds of positions they need to fill on a regular basis. So we're going to break this piece of the webinar into two parts. So how do you build a talent community, and how do you engage that talent community? So we're going to start with the building piece. Where do you build it? You have to make a decision, right? You know, what are you going to anchor your talent community solution to? Is it going to be just your own career site? Is it going to be your talent management system? Is it going to be a social site that you say, hey, this is more social and more mobile, and that's 90% of the folks that we might see? It depends on what you're recruiting, right? If it's a professional or white-collar workforce, then you potentially have you know, a different audience. You may be really, really tied into LinkedIn, or you may be using 3 or 4 different sources. But we want to talk about, you know, why Facebook is becoming more and more important, and people are talking about it more and more. Not only do you have 1.1 billion people on Facebook, they also have an extended network of 31,000 people per member. So you really have kind of the whole world on a single plate, if you will, and you have them online, and you have 50% of them using the Facebook application on their mobile device. So if you're a big Facebook user, you already know that they've spent a lot of money and energy to improve the experience online, because what happened is they realized most of the people that engage with Facebook are just looking at their news feeds, commenting, sharing, liking stuff, and then every once in a while I go back to my laptop and I have a full Facebook experience. So they're trying to get that Facebook experience to you. And since 1 in 7 minutes of any online experience is spent on Facebook, they have an unbelievably large market share of the people that are spending time on Facebook and the internet, period. So that 1.1 billion is a global number. You know, at Wiork4 we help clients all the time, and they say, hey, I need to find this kind of person in Manila, or this kind of person in Bangalore, or this kind of person in Krakow, in Poland. You can use Facebook to reach anybody outside of obviously China at this point. So the reach of Facebook is just tremendous. Then you find out, you know, are people comfortable? Like, do they want to actually get job content on their Facebook page? Like, you know, and it's going to be a personal choice. What's interesting, though, is we have recent studies that are kind of changing what people are comfortable with or what they're used to say that 81% of the job seekers said, yeah, I want to see the jobs posted to a Facebook career site. That's a better experience for me. I'd learn more about the company when I go to their Facebook page than I'd ever learn about them when I go to their regular career site. So you have this juxtaposition. A lot of people put a lot of money into building this wonderful career site, but the fact is, because of Facebook and because it's content that, you know, you can share and post and talk about the philanthropy efforts of the people that what they did on their day off, that's a little bit more of a window of information than just the stuff that it says that, hey, you know, here are your benefits, here's the job description, etc. I want to like and feel the company. And then 50% of Facebook's users consider a company's Facebook page to be more useful than their website. That was a big eye-opener for me. I had no idea that, you know, Facebook kind of company pages were that trusted or had that kind of valuation in a candidate's mind. So I thought that was pretty insightful and just good information to have. So you know, you want to build it. So Facebook has the population to do it, and then what are the tools you need? Like how do you get started? So for the most part, I think there's 58 million company Facebook pages right now. You have a decision to make. You can ride the marketing dollars that already have built a kind of company page. So if you're a business-to-business company, you may or may not have, you know, that much Facebook strategy or socialization. But you also have the ability to do your own careers page. So what we see is about 60% of the companies actually say, you know what, my employment message, the information I want to post to the page, the job content is specific enough so that I want my own careers Facebook page. And then on the flip side, 40% of the people have, our Facebook tab or the jobs page, if you will, on their actual main company page. So it just depends. And then the newest thing we're seeing now is that you actually have a community page. So a community of people, for instance, just at that page. So here you see the career possibilities, the PepsiCo example, where they have this PepsiCo as a company and they have their jobs on the main page. Now they also have the careers page and do the same thing. A good example of the community page is inside Amazon, which is kind of a newer page that Amazon's doing, and it's talking about what it's like to be an Amazon employee, and then it's really more of a community page than it is a specific careers page. So some of the cool tools on these pages that you may or may not be aware of is we all have, familiarity with what we call a job email alert. So it says, hey, if you live in Seattle and you're a programmer, here's jobs for these technology companies. So we now do this via the Facebook page. So you can set up the job alerts right here. You can see the create job alert on the left, and that is really important because we can just send a branded list of the pages, and every time they come and search and click on jobs, we get a little bit more information about what they're interested in, and then create pretty tailored content. Actually, below that create job alert page, you can see kind of the manual option shares. We'll go there in a second. And then also Facebook is helping out because they're saying, hey, update your timeline, put more information, let us know where you worked, let us know if you have certain skills. So Facebook's getting a little bit more aware and more serious about the talent aspect or the community aspect of their page and how it could impact recruiting versus just the social aspect of learning about a company or a coupon or a great deal that somebody would make an offer on. So that's helping too. So you have about 65 to 70% of all the profiles on Facebook now have an employer, job title, and a little bit more about their background, education. So it's a robust number now of people who have actually said, this is where I work, this is my title, and then we can get a lot of information from that. So in addition to just making yourself available on a page, you have to then have a reason for them to come back and engage with your company or your brand. So there's a new tool called social job sharing that we launched earlier this year, and it's been pretty incredible on how important it is in terms of the traffic to this page and then what we call the engagement of this page. So as a recruiter or even a source or a hiring manager, you can now go in and you're seeing screenshots on the right hand side of what it looks like when we publish a job on a social network from this tool. In this example, Kate Green is a recruiter, and you basically can say, if it's a marketing job and if it's in San Francisco, I want to post this to my Facebook page and tell people about this great job at the company I work for or the company I recruit for, and do it once a week. And then I can go and do the same thing for LinkedIn. I can do the same thing for Twitter. And so this same tool is the tool that we were already allowing the administration of our tool on Facebook to do, so auto post to Twitter and auto post to the Facebook wall. We just blew it up a little bit more and said, okay, now you can do it for not only the Facebook page, you can do it for your Facebook profile, you can do it for LinkedIn, you can do it for your Twitter feed as well. So about I would say 8,000 to 9,000 people have now signed up from various levels of various companies, and this is what it shows up as. We actually have a pretty cool relationship with Twitter. We allow for them to do Twitter cards, so it comes up formatted with a link back to the job, obviously, and you now have your logo included. So you can do this for LinkedIn with your Deloitte logo there, and then we pre-populate this, and then we have a level where you can actually change the text. You can say, great job at Deloitte in New York, or you can say Deloitte's hiring. We also will automate it and just rotate the text for you too. So it's become important enough, so it's about 30 to 40% of all the traffic that comes back to the pages we host are from this new tool. It's been really successful, and the kind of the side benefit, if you will, is that they're part of your professional or your social network. They're more engaged and more likely to be a good fit for that job, or else they wouldn't have read your content and decided to go and view the job and apply to the job. So after building, you want to talk about engaging the talent community. So this picture obviously is pretty cool. This is a the street race, and it shows how much interest there is in specifically this Red Bull car. So how do you get interest? How do you get people to come and be interested in what you guys have to say and what you have to offer? So in terms of Facebook etiquette, there's kind of 3 things to remember when you're engaging your community. You want it to be searchable, you want it to be likable, and you want it to be shareable. I'm frustrated these days if I go to an article, whether it's a blog or something that somebody sent me, and there's no immediate way to email somebody, share it on a social network, and somehow tell people that I just read it. It's becoming kind of an automatic. So you have the widgets that allow you to share things, and that's pretty much because of Facebook. It's because of the experience that people had doing that. So you want to fill out the information in the About section of your Facebook page. Make sure it's clear. So if you have a career page different than a company page, put as much information as you can about there. What is your message? What is your mission? What is your company overview? Where are you looking to grow? What awards have you won? This is all information that you can put now and make available and searchable through the Facebook Graph Search Engine, which has been recently upgraded. In addition to that, you want to have content that's likable. So Facebook is about creating a fan base, creating a community of people that want to engage with you. So, PepsiCo is saying, hey, this is a brand you may not know we have. We sell grandma cookies. What's the favorite cookie that you have? Show off the fact that you have diversification. Show off that you have content and not just jobs, that you have a career opportunity, not just a job to offer. So the more people that like, obviously, the more people that are going to come back and then get signed up and get your news feeds, and then obviously get the job alerts on the Facebook page if you choose to do that too. We have done something kind of brand new, and this is very cool. It's called a visual job, or it's called a job card. Instead of just seeing a big text description of a posting, what is this product management intern in San Francisco going to do? We show you a map of where it is. We pick up just specific keywords, and the image behind those keywords, for a restaurant could be a picture of plated food. For this, it's a handshake because it's a business job, and then it says what the company is for. This is in case an example from us from Wiork4, and then where it is and where the San Francisco is. Now, once you click on it, it then goes to the job. Everything on our page is mobily optimized, so even if I saw this job card in my news feed, I'd click on it and I would end up going to specifically the mobile version of a job versus the main. So this is just a new way. We've run apples to apples comparison, so same posting, 2 different cities, one visual, one not, and it's about 120% more engagement than your average post. So it really does work. The visual movement, more video, more pictures blown up on Facebook that you can't see. You see part of it, so you have to click on it and see the rest of it. That's all on purpose. Visualization wins when it comes to content. And then, in terms of that, specifically the science behind it, you process information quicker through a visual. I see the picture on the bottom left, and I see trees in a forest, and everyone has been in some kind of forest or seen lots of trees, and you have your own image immediately, instantaneously processed in the brain faster. So visual content's huge, not just for branding, but also for processing. Any questions so far? Moving quickly through this, I've covered Built, I've covered Engage. We're going to talk now about the latest, more, I guess, cutting-edge trends. So if you do have a question and you want to ask it during the presentation, Sean said earlier, please use the chat window or the question window and just let us know if you want something answered while we're moving through the content here.
CJ, if I could interrupt,
Yes.
A couple of folks have asked if they can get copies of the slides. Everybody will receive the webinar today in the link to it and the slides as well. So just want to make sure everybody knows that. And please do not hesitate to ask questions during the webinar. We would rather engage with you when it's on your mind than when we're all over and done. So go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. In terms of the latest thing that Facebook's doing that I think is really going to have a huge impact on recruiting, and then having quote-unquote talent community builds be even more effective and more niche, they launched something called Graph Search. So it is a way for you to search now on anybody that is a Facebook member, anybody's profile information, and then anything they've done or liked. So I can search on people who like, who like or drive a Ford car, or have eaten at a certain restaurant, or have done a certain job, whether it be in their city or whether it be something where they have an experience that they want to share with other people, and then the comments and likes on that build the importance of this. So it's not a typical search engine. I just want to cover that real quick. It's not Boolean logic. It's Facebook based. So it is extremely intuitive. So you could literally say people who have done this job in my hometown, and it automatically knows what your hometown is. So people who like cycling and are from my hometown. And this is just a way for you now to search for anybody that has any information about what they're interested in and what they've done for past work. So the world is, kind of opened up now for you to find anybody on Facebook. It's pretty amazing. And if you haven't used it, it's just the top search bar is just more robust than it used to be. So you can check it out. And then really it connects between Facebook objects. So people, work, interests, and places are kind of the graphic that they use. And on the left you see how it's displayed after you do a search. So sales executives who live in San Francisco is this example. And on the right-hand side, it lets you actually change it. So the amount of targeting is crazy. I mean, if you've ever done Facebook ads, it's 91% accurate every single time you see an ad, which is pretty amazing in itself. Now they're giving that accuracy on the search. You can change and say, you know what, I only want to see people who worked for this employer, and you can change it to that. You can change the job title. You can change the employer location. You can change where they were when they did that work, their school, all this information, and you can extend the search as well. So just a quick preview of what's possible. Now, if you want to contact that person, if it's a straight recruitment question, then you actually can contact them for free, and it goes into their other folder, which a lot of people don't even know exists on Facebook. Then you can also pay to reach people as well. So you can literally, just like an email on LinkedIn, you can say, hey, I want to message this person, and you pay a super small fee. I think it's $1 or less to do that. And
hey, CJ, this is Shauna. We've got a few questions that have come in. You're going through your information pretty quickly, so if I can ask those for you. It looks like people had some questions as they related to company pages and career pages. What exactly will be the major difference in those in terms of the content posted on Facebook? That came in from Amy. And then we also have one, I think it's in relationship to the more current slides you're showing now. If a person's profile is private, will they still appear when doing a graph search? If you can answer those two questions, that would be great.
Sure. So I'll answer the second one first, since it's related to the graph search. You can set your settings so you're not searchable, absolutely. So Facebook has revamped all of their privacy. It's kind of robust. So you go into your settings tab, you can go privacy, you can read on everything. And so you can absolutely make yourself blind, right? Make yourself not searchable. That's
if I could interject there as well, and Facebook is consistently updating their functionalities, which means you probably need to go back and check every so often your privacy settings. I am an avid user of Facebook, and I typically have to reset my privacy settings once a month because they have updated and changed. So just make sure that you're checking them. If you're concerned about privacy at all, that you are checking those settings and resetting them if you're concerned about privacy.
Yeah, and I would just say every time you set up for, sign up for another app or something, it's likely that the privacy settings are probably pretty good, but the sharing settings, right? They're probably going to, they let everyone else know that you just did it. The good news is for Wiork4 and for any applications that we process, we're not going to tell somebody you just applied to another job, obviously. So we're pretty upfront about that.
Thank you.
Just make sure that the app you're using and the privacy statement on Facebook, they can be different. The question on company pages versus career pages, the major difference would be that the people who become fans of your career page are really most likely fans of, wanting to work at your company or have worked at your company or want to help somebody else get a job there, and that's going to be a really, really, really tightly, aligned community. Whereas the fans of your store or your business or your division of the company or your brand would be brand related. So we have a company called the Container Store, and they have a ton of people that shop there that also are potential employees, and so they do convert quite a few of their fans, quote unquote, of the Container Store to be into their pipeline of workers. So would it be at the store or corporate, whatever it is, you tend to be a fan of what the Container Store does and what it stands for, and like that store, and then it obviously convert to be somebody who could like it enough to go work there. So that's what the best way I can explain that is you potentially have a different segmented group of people, and if you have your own careers Facebook page, then if somebody likes that for some reason or likes a job and becomes a fan of that, it's pretty much a direct relation to success of using that fan base for what you want to do and sharing content on your page. You're going to get a response on it versus if you post a job to somebody that just likes to drink Pepsi and it's a Pepsi opportunity, I'm not so sure that they're going to get great fan response from candidates versus just people saying, I love Pepsi too. Okay, hopefully that helps.
Right, and we do have one as well. Where can they find the graph search feature?
So just log into Facebook, and it's at the very top of the Facebook site.
Right. They've changed their the bar at the top so that it is graph search. It was launched last year sometime, and only a select few individuals actually had access to it. And it was launched fully recently so that every Facebook user has access to this. So it's that main search bar right at the top. That is graph search now, and it just depends on the information that you put in, what information you will get back.
Yeah, and just so you know, it's English only right now, so if for some reason you're on the phone from Canada and you have a French designation, you have to switch it to English to get the search results. So this is a U.S. or English only search and response right now.
And then we did have one more general question, and I'm sure there's probably lots of different answers for this one, but Rayanne and CJ, what are your recommendations on how to handle negative feedback in a social setting such as Facebook?
Ooh, I'm happy to address that. There are many instances that you can view today where social feedback, negative social feedback, was handled very poorly. It depends on the situation and what happened, whether it was an employee that was providing this feedback or a customer or a client that's providing the feedback. You need to address it. Even if you remove it, somebody else has seen it and has taken a screenshot of it or will write a blog post about it or will tweet it out. Negative feedback is an opportunity for an organization to learn maybe areas where they could improve or change or switch it up a bit. And it's a great opportunity for you to engage with a client or customer or employee that might be feeling slighted or that the service or product was not to their liking. I don't think you should ever delete it and act like it never happened. It needs to be left there and addressed. And if you are a company that is providing a service or product that is of great value and you have customers that like you, those customers or clients will come to your defense. I've seen it over and over and over. So it's really important that you don't ignore negative feedback or delete it. You need to address it. And if it needs to be escalated, if it's a serious problem, please contact that individual directly or say to them online, can we please take this offline? I understand that you are concerned and we want to address the problem or issue that you're having. CJ, do you have any more to add to that?
No, I wholeheartedly agree, and I also just say, if you have a thin staff and only have a few people to kind of do that thing, make sure you always have somebody watching it, because the more every day that goes by is somebody that didn't get an answer.
Right,
But
and
the
the biggest part, and we addressed this earlier about social media, is that it provides for you, the employer or the organization and company, to have engagement with your audience. And engagement is not one way. It means a two-way conversation or discussion that takes place between one party and the other. This is an extension of your company website. Social media is not just another billboard. It is an extension and an opportunity for you to create conversations and engagement with either employees or customers and clients.
Yeah, agreed. Hopefully that helps answer the question. I just have two more small items to get to, and then we're going to turn over to Rayanne, who's going to cover kind of the other social ways of building and engaging the talent communities, and she'll get into kind of some cool, fun stuff too. So in case you haven't heard, the world of hashtag, if you will, that's being probably overused by everybody posting anything, started by Twitter, and then it's a way to basically search for content and or watch content as it happens on anything. So it could be on a court case, it could be on a brand, or something related to your personal life or your business life. Facebook has now instituted the same thing, so you can do hashtag. So when we cross-post jobs, obviously do hashtag jobs, because it tends to be something that everyone kind of ubiquitously uses, and then everyone else, every brand could potentially have the same hashtag for their particular event, effort, or content-related item as well. So, hashtags are kind of ubiquitous, and by Facebook adding them, it creates kind of a more robust content within the job posting world for recruiting, for sharing, to use both kind of a recruiting or a jobs hashtag, and also the just hashtag from your company or your own established hashtag for jobs and recruiting. Keep in mind that there's no restriction on the content. So whereas LinkedIn, the hashtag for Twitter, the hashtag takes up the space of the 140 characters. In this case, if you use it on Facebook, you tend to get the same reference or reach. You're not restricted with it. So it's wide-ranging. You get the live feed sharing, and the graph search makes it obviously pretty important too. We talked a little bit about visual ads, but just to kind of show you how this works, when you cross-post the classic ads from Facebook's just straight advertising, they look like this. You've probably all seen these little ads on the right-hand side of your old Facebook laptop. Now the ads are kind of more visual, so you can literally just do a actual picture with the visual ads, and now you can do newsfeed ads. So we can put the ad directly in the newsfeed. You've probably seen this recently, and we can now do mobile only. So we have clients that said, hey, I only want to do mobile ads, I only want to reach people on a mobile device on Facebook, and then the whole entire experience is mobile, because they come back to our page, which is mobile optimized. We have the ability to have them apply through Facebook, or using another method to go not ever leave their phone to finish the apply process. So the visual ads have kind of turned into what these things called newsfeed ads, and then newsfeed are now are more mobile. So with that, I want to thank you for listening to my part for kind of the cutting edge, the graph search, the Facebook part of this, and then turn it over to Rianne, who's going to kind of jump into some fun stuff with Twitter, and also a little bit more about Technomedia and what they are doing to make this more valuable for you as well. Thank you.
Thanks so much, CJ. I'm going to let Shauna tell us a little bit about Technomedia, and then we'll address questions before we go on.
Sure. For those of you who aren't familiar with Technomedia, we are solely and exclusively focused on talent management and have been for over 16 years. Technomedia produces a talent management suite, which also addresses all of the areas of core HR, and we offer best-of-breed solutions in those areas, such as talent acquisition, performance management, succession planning, compensation, as well as learning and development. We have over 400 clients in over 70 countries, and we do have an integration in our recruiting module with Wiork4 and the Facebook platform that CJ's talked about as well. And for companies interested in a talent management suite, give us a call, and we'll be happy to answer any more questions for you.
Perfect. Do we have more questions before we hit the next section of the webinar?
We do. We have one that's related to some industry specifics from David. Are there any certain industries that are more successful in recruiting through Facebook? What about more technical positions such as mining and oil and gas industries? I guess David's from the oil and gas industry, so any perspectives there?
I would say that there are definitely geographic pockets that are more successful, as well as kind of vertical skill sets.
Right.
Yeah. So, where you have penetration on Facebook, there's a great site, I don't know if you guys have seen it, called socialbakers.com. It'll literally tell you what the penetration of the entire population of every country is for Facebook, for LinkedIn, for every social site that they track, and that will let you know. So we have a ton of clients that hire truckers, and they're up in Canada, and they love us. We have retail, grocery stores, we have IT technology companies, we have manufacturer, B2C companies as well. Oil and gas and construction tend to be a personal choice to be on Facebook. If they're on Facebook, they're
Right.
reachable, they're going to respond. But if, like my brother runs, pretty well-known construction site right now in San Diego, and he's on Facebook, but it's not part of his world. So he's probably not going to see a job message and respond to it. So if it's not part of that personal choice to be on that social network, then there's a good chance you're not going to reach them because they're just not there. But I would say for anybody in college and having left college, anybody in the white-collar workforce, keep in mind that you're also going to get a hold of people now through graph search that could reference somebody else to you to get you the talent as well. So Facebook is now not just a talent acquisition kind of play, it's also a referral play, and I think that's some of what Rayanne's going to talk about as well, is how to get into that.
It's important to remember that Facebook is basically an old man in the social media space. They have been around since 2004. And compared to some of the other networks that we're going to talk about now, it is the old man, and they have been leading the way in social technology. And with over 1.1 billion users, chances are you're going to find somebody in the industry or vertical that you are searching in. And I love that you can use the hashtag in the search bar on Facebook now. I don't think CJ actually addressed that other than looking for somebody from my hometown. You can actually search groups. So if you put in that search bar hashtag oil and energy, you're going to pull up every conversation on Facebook that has hashtagged oil and industry in that conversation, and maybe engage with somebody, be a part of that, or invite them to join your group or like your page. So it's a great opportunity to continue the employment brand process, which we know is key when we're talking about bringing potential candidates or applicants to your career site, or to continue to promote a good employment brand. Hashtags, it's really interesting. Some of you may still be stumbling over what a hashtag is. It's what we like to know, kind of like the artist formerly known as Prince. It is the symbol formerly known as the number or pound sign. And what it does is it gives you an opportunity to create some group messaging and allows folks to come back and follow. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But really, what Twitter, and Twitter I'm going to lump in there with Facebook as an old man in the social media space. It's been around since 2006. They were launched about 6 months to a year, I think, before South by Southwest conference that takes place in March every year in Austin. And at that conference, a full-blown announcement was made, and within, I think, an hour of the session, there were 20,000 more people that had hopped on Twitter, and it blew up from there. And it has been, the greatest thing about Twitter is that it's linked to every other social network, right? So you can push out everything that you post on Facebook to Twitter. You can push out everything from Pinterest and the other social networks that we're going to talk about. And the greatest thing is your employment brand that you can create, and also following and engaging. If you want to hashtag any tweet with jobs, you're going to get folks out there that are following group messaging that are hashtag jobs. It's just really a great tool to broadcast information. But also remember that there is engagement that goes on here. So if you're going to broadcast information, you need to be listening, because you may have some of that negative feedback that we talked about, or you may receive some of that positive feedback that we talked about that you can reinforce and tell everybody how excited you are about it. Can we move to the next slide, please? I don't have, there we go. So it's, like I said, it's not just for information share. You can also start a Twitter chat. Perhaps you are in the oil and energy or gas industry and you'd like to start a conversation. You can schedule a chat at a regular time. Please check out the chat function on Twitter and invite people to join you for a half-hour conversation. You'd be surprised how quickly you can grow that community. And it's important to remember that this is a community, which means everybody has the opportunity to participate in something that they find is of value. Remember when we used to cold call all the time? I started in this industry in the trenches as a recruiter, making 60 to 100 phone calls every day trying to engage with potential candidates for my clients. And this is a new type of cold call, if you will. You can add a hashtag to it, and all of a sudden you're reaching out to folks that are actually following that. This is where the line crosses between marketing and recruiting, or marketing and HR. And we're going to see more and more involvement between the marketing departments and the recruiting and HR departments, because we have an opportunity to continue to build company brand and employment brand. You don't have to cold call anymore. Consider this cold call. It's not just for marketing anymore. And if you think about it, I don't know if it's this way for you, but it is certainly true for me. The way we communicate in the last 3 years has changed so dramatically that, of course, the way we do business and every other function of business, including recruiting, which is a big business function, is going to be altered and changed by social media. Next slide, please. So hashtags for search, like I said, you will be able to lump topics together. You'll be able to lump industries together, verticals together. Maybe you're looking to hire sales, so hashtag it sales jobs. And these can be used on every social network. It's really interesting to have seen the evolution of hashtag. I remember when I first started playing around on Twitter years ago, hashtagging was all the rage on Twitter, but no other networks had picked it up. Now you see it on Facebook, and that is a recent adoption by Facebook. Google Plus has it, Instagram has it, Kickstarter has it, LinkedIn has it, Tumblr has it. Of course, we know on Twitter and YouTube and Vine. So we're seeing the hashtag used in all of these social networks. It has become a universal symbol, if you will, for search. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Now it's going. So we want to keep ahead of the talent acquisition, your talent acquisition strategy, ahead of the curve. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about Instagram. Over 130 million users. Before we go, Shauna, did we have any questions about Twitter?
We don't have one specifically about Twitter alone, but besides Facebook and Twitter, what do you feel about LinkedIn? Also,
I was definitely going to address that. Go ahead.
Okay, and also does Wiork4 and Technomedia platforms interface with LinkedIn? So I guess you can address that when you get to your LinkedIn portion.
We're actually not going to talk too much about LinkedIn today. There is a raging underground controversy about whether or not LinkedIn is a social network. And I can tell you this, I believe it is. It is a social network because I use it as such. Some people use it purely as a database. Some people use it only to display their professional profile and maybe connect, but they are not using it for engagement. So the LinkedIn social network, I'm going to go ahead and call it that, is so deeply embedded into recruiting and HR that there is so much for us to talk about that it really is truly its own webinar. But I can tell you this, 285 million users, active users on LinkedIn, and it's been around since 2003, I think. So we're talking about a network that is deeply embedded in the HR and recruiting process, and we cannot do it justice by giving it 1 or 2 slides here. It is a great way for you to engage, though, and a great way for you to search out candidates. And the key here is using it as such. So if you feel that it's only a database, if you feel that it's only a job board, then that's because that is how you are using it. There's a great opportunity for you to have to share information, to share news about your company. You as a company can create a company page and share all the news that's coming out, like we shared this webinar on our company page. You can also share jobs that have just been released. You can also create groups and invite people to. I have actually hired on LinkedIn based on a sales group I created years ago. Way back in 2005, I started a technology sales group. And I've made 2 hires out of that group over the last several years just because I kept engaging with that group. And when I posted a job on there, I had several people come forward and say, wow, I would really love to come work for your company. What can you tell me about it? So LinkedIn, it depends on how you use it. It depends on what your engagement level is. CJ, do you have any more to add to that? I guess not.
He might be on mute.
He might be on mute. If you're talking, CJ, we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I pretty much agree, Rayanne. I think if you engage and use it as a social network, and again, I always say LinkedIn is crazy popular with salespeople and recruiting people. Outside of that, it's hit or miss, right?
Right. And not everybody is on there.
And technology people tend to gravitate towards a technology tool like a LinkedIn because it is mobile and it's easy to kind of see and join a group. And they're starting to get better at pulling you in. You can follow celebrity business people and stuff like that. So they're doing a pretty good job of actually becoming more like Facebook. And I think you could also say that Facebook's trying to become more like LinkedIn. It's kind of funny to watch from the outside.
You can see the functionality changes on both of them. When one updates, the other does. But we're talking about, seriously, LinkedIn has 1/4 of the members that Facebook has, right? So that's your much bigger, grander audience. However, like CJ mentioned, you can target specific groups, and like I mentioned, you can create specific groups for those particular communities that you want to reach out to. You mentioned, CJ, before you step away for a minute, you mentioned social baker. Can you please spell that for our audience so that they know where they can go?
Yeah, so I just answered David directly, I think, but
okay.
Social bakers. So think about I'm baking a cookie. So socialbakers, one word, .com. It's I found it over a year ago, and they're a pretty cool organization. What they've done is they've extrapolated enough data to be credible, and they basically are saying, here's the most popular websites on any social site. Here's the likely penetration. So they literally go to the last census. I know in the U.S. is not crazy accurate because it was so long ago, but it's fairly accurate, right? There's, in the neighborhood of 305 to 315 million people in the U.S. So they take that population number, if it's verified, and then they take the known membership of the social site, and they say literally 50% of this country is on Facebook. And it's crazy to go just compare that. So when we actually do a pitch to a global organization, we use those stats and we say, not just social bakers, but cross-reference to other places, and say you're going to do recruiting in this country. Let's say it's somewhere in the Middle East or India, or whatever. This is the percent. This is the percent of people. Period, just population, the penetration of that particular social network on that country. So if you look at it, you'll see LinkedIn is still really, really heavy in kind of North America, and they're getting better in Europe, but their runway, LinkedIn's runway overseas is way bigger because that's where Facebook has already penetrated things.
Right. Okay, so we've got a few more slides to get through, and so I'm just going to touch briefly on these, and I want everyone to understand that now we're talking about employment branding, which of course leads to hiring. And Instagram has 130 million users. They've been around since 2010. They are owned by Facebook, and you can push posts on Instagram to Twitter, Facebook, and Foursquare. You can add links to job postings. It's a great way to, if you have a question at all, please check out the following companies that are using Instagram quite a bit. Starbucks, NPR, and Red Bull are doing great stuff with employment branding and recruiting on Instagram. And this is what we're talking about when I say these are babies. The next few companies I'm going to talk about have only been companies in the last 3 years. So imagine if you have a mobile phone in your hand or on your lap right now, how many of you have this app on your phone or your mobile device? Probably most of you have this out there. It is very popular. Really popular among the younger kids. I have children aged 16 and 18. They have dumped their Facebook pages in favor of Instagram. So make sure you're covering all the generations that you want to in your employment engagement or employment branding processes. Let's talk a little bit about Pinterest, 70 million users and growing. They were named the best new startup by TechCrunch back in 2011, only been around since 2010. And here's the interesting fact about this. Who are you trying to reach? If you are trying to reach women, if you're trying to reach female and potential employees, this is the place to be. 78% of engaged users are female. So it's a great visual employment branding tool. It's a photo sharing tool, and again, linked directly to Twitter. So anything that you post on a company page from Pinterest can be pushed out to your network on Twitter. And it gives you the opportunity to reach multiple audiences. That's what's so cool about the Twitter interface, is that generally speaking, folks that, we're not talking about me, who is insane and on every social network out there. We're talking about, generally speaking, folks like to stick to one social network. That's where they're going to have open all day. So if they're Twitter users, they're going to be on Twitter. If they're Pinterest, they're going to check in on Pinterest. They're going to receive those push notifications on their mobile device or email notifications in their inbox. So remember to share information. And you can also share pins to Facebook as well. It's also going out to Facebook. And you can create boards where you can pin specific information about jobs or about departments or about industries. You're going to drive interest and engagement. Do we have any questions?
We do. We can't have a webinar without a metrics question, so we have one from Deb. Are there any metrics regarding cost or expense and hiring ROI available that you know of, either through EMA or SHRM or any other association?
Yeah, there is so much talk about ROI for using social recruiting, and Google Analytics has started to implement more and more measuring tools for you to measure where people are coming from. What are the sources? So if you don't have the beta function in Google Analytics, check it out. It's the social sourcing beta function, and it will give you some idea of where it's coming from. But you cannot fully measure the impact of a social presence. It's like if you're sitting in a football game and the person next to you pulls up something on Pinterest and they know that you're looking for a job, and they turn to you and show you the screen on their phone and say, hey, I knew you were looking for a job in oil and gas. Look what they just posted on Pinterest. You might want to check it out, right? So we're talking about social. We cannot measure word of mouth, which is a deep, deep part about social media. So the jury's still out on that, but I can tell you this much. If you're interested and if you think you should use it, you should use it, because chances are your competition is.
Do you have examples of companies using Pinterest to recruit?
I can share that. I don't have it right in front of me, but I know. Do you know, CJ? Any particular companies that are using Pinterest to recruit?
They tend to be, like you said, I think it's still
retail.
70% female or
right.
higher.
I think retail is doing it. I think Nordstrom has a board. If you Google, here's what you can do. If you Google hiring on Pinterest, you will come up with a full, several pages of companies that are using it. Sorry, I should have provided that, and we can actually provide that information later for you.
Yeah,
or shoot me a text or an email or a tweet.
I'll send that information to you, and you can follow up with Cindy. And I think Hillary mentioned Target has a good site.
Oh, thanks, Hillary. Yes, of course they would. Target has been very visual in all of their hiring efforts. Let's talk about Google+. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Rand, that goes back to that visual job card we're creating. So Pinterest tends to be almost even more picture-oriented than Instagram, even though Instagram's pretty much picture-oriented also. And so where you can create a visual job or where you can give some kind of information via a picture, that's where Pinterest would be leveraged.
Right. So Google+, another baby in the space, launched in 2011. They were initially touting numbers of 500 million, very rapidly growing. But what people didn't know is that Google was automatically creating Google+ accounts for anybody that had a Gmail account. Right. So they've now changed their numbers up a little bit, and at last count, some people are still saying 500 million, but I've done a little bit of research, and 343 million registered users. But the interesting thing about Google is everything that you post on your Google Plus page is automatically indexed to Google within 24 hours. So you're increasing SEO. So go out there and create a company page in Google Plus. Anything that you're sharing on any other network, put it out there on Google Plus. You may not see instant gratification or instant results from this, but what you are doing is creating a Google trail for your company, for your brand, for the jobs that you're putting out there. And you are engaging with a completely different audience than Facebook. You can create circles just like you can create groups or company pages or fan pages on any of the other networks. You can create circles of influence within Google and share specifically with them. And it's all about content, right? The more content you share, and I'm not just talking about links to jobs, I'm talking about information that will benefit anybody that might be searching out a job with you. We are learning more and more every day about what drives people to brands, and it is content, right? Content, 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 whether it's a blog post, whether it's a webinar like this, whether it's a radio show, whether it's a video, anything that you push out there that's going to create a better company image or brand for you is going to benefit you when you're hiring. Here's a really fun one. Vine just launched in January. Quick Pulse Marketing. It's a 6.5-second video that you can create to push out there. It's really fun. Think of it as a mini commercial. 40 million users already. This company was just launched in January. And I know that Gen Y loves it. The younger generation is using this, and it can be auto pushed out to Twitter and Facebook as well. And their functionality competes with Instagram, which just launched their video functionality. I think their videos are 16 seconds, I think, on Instagram. So there's a little bit of competition going on there. But if you do the same thing as the folks were asking about Pinterest, just do a quick Google search, or if anybody has a question, shoot that to us here, and I'll be happy to answer that later. And then, of course, that brings us to geolocation. So we have so many geolocation or check-in apps, and this, I believe, is the wave of the future. Apps like Foursquare, Yelp, Yahoo Local, and then 5for Now, which is a new app that's out there and is competing with Google Maps. And the future is so bright right now that we can't even imagine what's going to happen. For these several companies that we've talked about briefly here that have only been around in 3 years, imagine what the next 3 years are going to bring for us. We can't really talk about social without talking about mobile. So I'm just going to give you a few stats, but mobile is huge, just like LinkedIn. It would take a whole nother webinar for us to discuss mobile and social together. Here's a couple of stats. Here are a couple of stats for you, though. Mobile right now, mobile device is outselling desktops 3-to-1. So if your career page is not mobile ready, you need to get in there and start making it mobile ready. Here's something to think about too, and you can think about yourself. When you go to the bathroom or leave your desk at work, do you take your phone with you? Most people do, but guess what? They leave their purse or their wallet there. So it's really interesting how important a mobile device has. It takes 26 hours for somebody to report a lost wallet, but only 68 minutes to report a lost mobile device. And here's the one that will just blow your mind. More people in the world have a mobile device or phone, a mobile phone, than have a toothbrush. Think about that. 5.1 billion people have a phone or a mobile device. 4.2 billion people out of 6 billion people on this earth have a toothbrush. It's kind of gross, but it's true. And I'm not sure how they're measuring that, because I may be attributing to that billion because I go through 4 toothbrushes a year. So I'm not sure how they're measuring it, but it was a survey that came out last year. And
it's a good shock data graphic.
Yeah, good shock. We need to be ready to hit the mobile circuit. And with that, do we have any more questions?
We do have a few more. One that I missed from Jenny, I apologize, it came in a bit earlier. Can you explain more on how you can get set up and the page to message candidates through the Facebook graph?
Yeah, so basically, once you find somebody in the search, you can look at their mini profile on the left, which I think was the screenshot we showed you earlier, or you can basically pull up the full profile, and at that point there's a little button on their profile that basically says contact this person, and if you click on that, a little pop-up will open and say do you want to contact them through directly, and if you're more than 2 away, then you're going to have to pay to contact them. So you would have to drop in a credit card or use PayPal or some kind of payment device. We're looking at trying through the Facebook API, and it's not as robust as it needs to be yet to support kind of recruiting on a regular basis for this. To buy credits up front, and then Wiork4 would store those credits and allow your team of people who have access to the graph search service that we would provide kind of use those up, but we're not there yet, and probably not going to be until about 2014 before Facebook will have enough kind of online technology to support that kind of thing. So again, graph search wasn't built for recruiting, but graph search is absolutely going to change recruiting on Facebook.
Oh, come on. Recruiters are already in there. Recruiters have been waiting for this.
Well, recruiters are basically finding people on Facebook and realizing, oh, wow, I didn't know that they had a shared common culture with ours, and then seeing if they're available on LinkedIn and going that route. So you're going to see all kinds of ways.
LinkedIn wasn't created for recruiters. I mean, think about it. Back in 2003 when LinkedIn was launched, it was just considered an online professional network. It was not actually established as a recruiter network, and now think about, I mean, a recruiter would not ever consider sitting down to his desk without having a LinkedIn profile, right? There's no way he would feel like he could do his job effectively. So we're going to get back to our last screen. You can contact Wiork4 or Technomedia through any of these channels, or also respond to any information that we've shared today. We would love to answer more questions or help out in any way possible. That's why we're here.
We do have a few more questions, and we didn't have a chance to get to them, so I will have our folks get back to you if you've processed one in the chat box that hasn't been answered with you directly. So thank you, everybody, for attending today's session. As Rayanne mentioned, you can get more information on this topic at the Wiork4 website as well as the Technomedia website. We have a ton of white papers, case studies, and other information that might be helpful around recruiting in the social space. And with that, we thank you and have a wonderful day.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.